What's going on there, Space Monkeys? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden, and this episode we're going to be talking about Julian Assange. Currently in extradition, he's in Belmarsh prison, and if you don't know anything about Julian, he exposed war crimes that the U.S. was committing overseas in Iraq, and with Chelsea Manning's help, allowed the United States populace to see something that they should have been privy to regardless. So he exposed war crimes that the United States military-industrial complex commits overseas that they were covering up. That's why he's been in this small room in basically isolation for like a decade. And, with the recent John McAfee suicide, quote-unquote, I worry very much for Julian. But the good news that happened this morning was that an Icelandic newspaper, and now everybody's running with the story, found out that one of the key witnesses in the indictment against Assange lied under oath. And what he lied about is something that was a linchpin in the case, and now it should be the last straw that allows us to drop the charges against Julian, and we should absolutely pardon him and let him out of Belmarsh prison. So I'm going to read to you here from RT. I will put the original article, which is from Stunden, in there as well, and we're going to read a little bit from that article afterwards. So I also want to point out that Edward Snowden and Glenn Greenwald have already come out on Twitter and are like, yeah, this should be the end of the case against Julian Assange. Key accusations in the case against WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange, who faces up to 175 years in prison if extradited to the U.S., are reportedly based on testimony from a convicted fraudster who admitted to the media that he was lying. Sigurdur Ingi Thorardsson, an Icelandic citizen and former WikiLeaks volunteer who became an FBI informant for $5,000, has admitted to Icelandic newspaper Stunden that he fabricated important parts of the accusations in the indictment. In an article published on Saturday, Stunden details every part of his testimony that he now denies, claiming that Assange never instructed him to carry out any hacking. The newspaper points out that even though a court in London has refused to extradite Assange to the U.S. on humanitarian grounds, it still sided with the U.S. when it came to the claims based on Thorardsson's now denied testimony. For instance, the ruling says that, quote, Mr. Assange and teenager failed a joint attempt to decrypt a file stolen from NATO country number 1 bank, where NATO country number 1 is believed to refer to Iceland, while, quote-unquote, teenager referred to is Thorardsson himself. However, he now reportedly claims that the file in question can't exactly be considered stolen, since it was assumed to have been distributed and leaked by whistleblowers inside the bank, and many people online were attempting to decrypt it at the time. That's because it allegedly contained information about defaulted loans provided by Icelandic Lobanski. In the fall of 2008 led to a major economic crisis in the country. Thorardsson also provided the publication with chat logs from his time volunteering for WikiLeaks in 2010 and 2011, showing his frequent requests for hackers to either attack or get information from Icelandic entities and websites. But according to Stunden, none of the logs show that Thorardsson was asked to do that by anyone inside WikiLeaks. What they do show, according to the newspaper, are constant attempts by the organization's volunteer to inflate his position, describing himself as Chief of Staff or Head of Communications. In 2012, WikiLeaks filed criminal charges against Thorardsson over embezzlement and financial fraud. He was later sentenced for both in Iceland. Stunden also cites Ögmundur Jónasson, then Icelandic Interior Minister, who says that U.S. authorities were going out of their way to get Assange. The newspaper claims that Thorardsson's testimony is key for the prosecution's line portraying Assange as a criminal, rather than a journalist publishing material protected by the First Amendment, like the New York Times or other media that shared the same documents as WikiLeaks. Reacting to the bombshell article by Stunden, NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden tweeted, "This is the end of the case against Julian Assange." Investigative journalist Glenn Greenwald agreed, saying it should be. And I'm going to go find that and I'm going to retweet it as well. We need to free Assange, and this dismantles the case. He should not be in exile anymore. He should be let out and reparations paid to him. Now, you guys know me. What do I think will happen? I think that Biden will never admit this story ever took place, they'll completely ignore it. This story will never see the light of day in mainstream media, and they'll continue to keep Julian where he is, and his mental stability and emotional stability will continue to deteriorate, and he'll be a shell of a man when they let him out, if they ever let him out. And that worries me. But what they should do, and I want to remind you guys what Biden can do, is he can just unilaterally pardon Assange. This isn't something that has to go through Congress. He can pardon Assange. It was something I was actually begging Donald Trump to do as he was leaving the White House, on the off chance that he just wanted to give an FU to Hillary Clinton, because Assange and WikiLeaks were the ones that leaked the Podesta emails. So I was always telling Trump back in the day, I was like, dude, just even if it's just for spite, Julian actually helped you by taking down Hillary Clinton, pardon him. Biden can also pardon Julian Assange and Edward Snowden and all these other people that are in exile. So, you know what, guys? Nothing's going to change, unfortunately, I don't think. I think the best we can do is take this story and run with it as far as it'll go, because it really does dismantle the case that Julian is a criminal and not a journalist. And it says in the other article, let me actually read to you, he was actually a pedophile as well. Like, this dude was a real big scumbag here. A major witness in the United States Department of Justice case against Julian Assange has admitted to fabricating key accusations in the indictment against the WikiLeaks founder. The witness, who has documented history with sociopathy and has received several convictions for sexual abuse of minors and wide-ranging financial fraud, made the admission to a newly published interview in Stunden, where he also confessed to having continued his crime spree whilst working with the Department of Justice and the FBI and receiving a promise of immunity from prosecution. So this dude's a fucking, like, he's a fucking absolute scumbag, and he was working with the FBI and Department of Justice and doing embezzlement and, you know, touching minors at best, and worst, doing God knows what to them. So Julian needs to be let out of Belmarsh prison right now. Joe Biden can do it by himself. Pardon Julian Assange right now, Joe Biden. Anyway, keep fighting the good fight out there, guys. I'll talk to you later.